So, yes, we're doing a proper business letter here. It looks like this is an address. But what does this second section look like? It's an address too. So which address is which? Which one is the person sending it and which one is the person receiving it? Okay, the second one is receiving. You agree? You disagree? That's who you're sending it to? This is the person sending the letter? Yeah. Okay, because let me point out, let me scroll down, or you guys could look down. Who signed the letter? Kathy Sims. So therefore, if Kathy Sims signed the letter, why would it be, if this is her address, why would it be Mr. Roger L. Murray? So you always start a letter at the top with your return address. This is always your return address. So yes, you're going to have to know each part of the letter has an actual name. So you're going to have to know the names of these parts of the letter. So this is indeed the return address. Now, notice, what does it not have in it? It starts at 1942 Falcon Road.
It doesn't have
Okay, normally, how would you guys write an address? What's the first thing you write?
a person.
Person's name. Why is the person's name not there?
Because it's at the bottom.
It's at the bottom. When they sign where they sign their signature, there's their name. So you don't put your name. You don't ever. There's no name up here. You just start with their address, your return address. There will be no name, and there will actually be no company name either, because if there's any other specialty names that go with it, that'll also be at the bottom. However, some letters start with just the date. If you get a letter from Nemaha Valley High School, you get it on this lovely piece of paper, more than likely. And it will start, the topmost thing on that letter will be the date. Why do we not write 214 North 11th Street, Seneca, Kansas?
It's already on there.
Yeah. This is called letterhead stationery. When you have if you already have pre-printed paper that's got all your contact information at the top, then you don't start with the address at all. You just start with the date. So, and most businesses already have letterhead stationery. It saves you all the time, have to put that on there all the time. So many, many letters will only start with the date. You'll never have that actual address up there. Okay, so then, what's this next stuff? Yeah, that's the person you're sending it to. Okay, the proper name for this is the inside address. I never cared for that name because it doesn't tell you what it is. It's, in reality, it's the person receiving it. It's the recipient's address, but the technical name is it's the inside address. Okay, and notice that has everything. The person's name, their title, like this person's director. Most of the time, if it's a business letter, you're going to have the company name, of course, then the street address, city, zip code, etc. Okay. Then, you have what next? Yeah. You formal, dear whoever. If you're writing a business letter, unless you know this person personally, you don't write dear Bob. It's always formally dear Mr. Whoever. So you would have to really be on a first name basis to write. In a business letter, you would not write their first name there. Now, you also don't write, does it sound right to say, dear Mr. Bob Murray? No, it's just dear Mr. Murray. You don't put their first name in there at all. That is called the salutation. I don't know if it's a form of saluting them, but you're notifying, who am I recognizing them as important and who this letter is going to. Okay. After the dear whoever, you notice on this one I have a colon. It can be a colon or it can be a comma. It kind of depends on which style of punctuation you want to go with. Both are acceptable. And then the line after that, this is not a requirement. It's nice if you put this line in there, but it's actually not a requirement. Anybody want to, what's that line telling you? Yeah, it gives them a heads up and says, hey, dude, this letter's going to be about, in this case, employees getting trained on something. So, and believe it or not, since they labeled it subject, we call that the subject line. It also, you can do it as the most common, actually there's several, but the most common way you can do it is subject colon, or sometimes people will put RE colon. Have you clue what that stands for? What is it, RE? Nope. It's a short version of in reference to, referencing what is this topic about, it means reference, but both of those are acceptable there. Now, I'm going to have to scroll in a minute, so I want to finish right on this. What do you notice about the blank line spacing between all this?
Blank lines between different things, but all the addresses together.
Okay, yes. Addresses are always single-spaced. Notice your paragraphs are single-spaced. How many blank lines are left in these gaps? One, one, one. That's 3, yeah. There are 2 places on the letter you will leave 3 blank lines. Otherwise, it's always ones. Ones everywhere. But right here, between the 2 addresses, you always leave 3. And then down at the bottom, where we have to leave room to sign our name in there, you'll have to leave 3 down there so you have room to sign your name. So all of these are ones. You separate your paragraphs with 1. I can't ever get people to remember this, and I never get why this is hard. There's 3 in 2 places, and everything else is 1. That shouldn't be that hard to remember, but man, I have double time with this. Okay. Do you know what we actually call the main paragraphs of the letter? Yes, it's the body. And I now need to scroll this, so hang on a sec. So you let me go back out of here. Save this page. Yes. Okay. All right. So, yes, the set of paragraphs is known as the body of the letter. Okay. There isn't a set requirement on how many paragraphs a business letter should be. 3 is really, really common. It's not a requirement. If you've got a lot more to say than that, you can have more than 3. But there's kind of a general set of information about what you put in them. The first paragraph is always, it's kind of your intro, and it's, you tell them, why are you writing? What's this thing about? So, a copy of the training DVD is on the way. So they're telling me, hey, dude, I sent this DVD. Then, usually, the middle paragraphs, however many there may be, are kind of providing the detailed information about what's going on. And then the last paragraph of the letter is usually it's kind of you're closing up your letter, but it's oftentimes how to contact you, or if there's what things may be included in the letter, which we're going to talk about in a minute. Those are called what things are enclosed, because this is talking about enclosed is a list of pamphlets, a training pack. It's telling you what's in the letter. It often will have the enclosures. It'll have how to contact you. I'm going to have you do a letter later. That's a letter you're writing to them to apply for a job. If you're applying for a job, what should you suppose you should say in the first paragraph? What job you would like. I am writing this letter to apply for, or I saw that you've advertised a position for whatever job you're applying for. And then you would often tell them a little bit of how you know about their company. I've heard your company is a wonderful company, and I would like to work with you. I've heard that you are a leader in the industry. So you, in the first paragraph, you smooth them a little. You're not telling them, make them, you're really excited and want to work for their company. Then in the middle paragraphs of your letter, if you're writing an application letter, you're going to tell them why you're qualified for the job. You've got this education, you have this much experience, what skills do you have. You're going to try to build yourself up, what you're good at. And then in the last paragraph, you thank them for their time and consideration. Tell them you've included a resume, if you've included a resume, and tell them you may contact me for an interview, schedule an interview, give them a phone number, give them an email, something like that. So business letters are very short and to the point. You don't get super duper wordy on business letters. People are busy working, they want to get to the point, see the main things, and move on. Okay, your cover letter you send when you're doing an application is mission critical, that and your resume. If you send one which is misspelled, poorly formatted, and just generally sloppy, you're going to go in the trash and never even get considered for the job. If you can't send a properly formatted business letter with proper grammar, spelling, and punctuation, why would they want to hire you? So, mission critical that you do something like that. Okay. Finally then, you're going to close your letter. Once again, we had one blank line here, here, here. What's the sincerely yours? The official name, it's the complimentary closing. Now, why do you suppose it's good complimentary? Why didn't they just call it the closing? Why did they call it complimentary closing? What's it mean to compliment something? Say good things about it. So, sincerely yours, or with much appreciation, or it's polite, super-de-duper polite. Once again, you're trying to schmooze them a little bit. Sound good. You don't just say, see you later, on a business letter. Or tie it TTYL. Would be extremely inappropriate. So, sincerely yours, can you think of other ones you might put there? A very common one is cordially yours. Sometimes it's just sincerely. It doesn't have to be sincerely yours. Just sincerely is good. Once again, it depends on how well you know the person as to what's acceptable to put there. Me personally, I usually just use sincerely. I don't usually use sincerely yours. Yeah, well, you're right. It is a little bit like a love letter in some respects. There are many, many, many choices you can put there. All right, so guess. How many spaces here? There's your other 3 spot. What's going to go there? Yeah, after you type the letter, you have to leave 3 space because you actually have to physically sign your letter with your own handwritten signature. So what's this stuff down here? Yeah. Okay. How many of you have your signature is legible and you can actually read and spell your name from your signature? Okay. Because let's face it, some people have, particularly the older you get, and they get hurried and more sloppy. Half the time you can't read the signature. So you also type it there, so that way if they can't read the signature, it's typed there. You know who the letter was from. Sad but true. Okay. So then here we have the name and title, if they have a title. Sometimes, you know, when you guys write a letter, you're not going to have a title. And then, what's Educational Media Division? Yeah, that could be what department you're in for the company. It could be the company name. I have my letters here at school when I email. I have my signature set to always be Sharon Meyer, mathematics teacher, email about high school. Okay, so what my role is here, what's the name, and you can put more in there, but that's it could be. We'll just say it's your department. Probably it's probably the best if you have one. A lot of times that line's not there. Yeah, if you're applying for a job, you're not going to have that. No, you're just going to be your name. That's it. Desperate for a job. So, now, these last two aren't always there. These two vary. Obviously, there's one blank line in each of them. Why would they write enclosure? Yeah, it's telling you there's something else in the envelope. It may be another piece of paper, but maybe you included some small little something that's in the envelope, and maybe they won't notice it. So if you are including a pen, if you're including a little set of a business card, if you stuck a business card in there. So enclosure tells them that, hey, I put extra stuff in here. They told us up here there was a list of pamphlets and training packets they were including, so that tells them, oh yeah, there's some more stuff in with this letter. If you're not putting anything else in with the letter, like if you guys, if you write a letter of application, though, you're more than likely going to send your resume with it. So you can include, so they have that additional information. But there are many times that you may not have an enclosure in it. So that one's optional. If you're not including something inside the letter, then you don't write enclosure. Okay, the other thing you don't do is this last piece here. Okay, why SM? Okay, that's the typist's initials. Okay, now you have to understand, and this is probably becoming less common, but I'm sure it still goes on in the major corporate world. Does every CEO of a company write their own letter, type their own letter? No. Who types it? Somebody they've hired, an administrative assistant, a secretary, somebody else types the letter. Okay, if somebody else actually physically types the letter, then they put their initials on it, so that way if there was ever a question as to if something's wrong or they want to know, those initials tell you who typed the letter. Okay, notice, are they capitalized? No. Is there any punctuation? No. It is your lowercase initials. If you're the typist, it's always lowercase. So, and if you can't tell, I have trouble with people, lowercase, no punctuation. So if you wrote the letter for somebody else, you put your initials on it. If you're writing your own letter, to apply for a job, don't put the typist initials on there. You wrote the letter. You typed the letter. You don't need that. So those two may vary to some extent, those last two. And I didn't label enclosure. Enclosure is just known as enclosure. There isn't a title for it. So If you need a title for it, it's called the enclosures. There's nothing else to say about it. It's something enclosed. Okay. Now, I need to back this out so you can see this. You guys can see it on your paper. Come on. Oh, I'm backing out. Save this page, yeah. Okay. Oh, thank you.